All right. Well, hello everyone here on this Revizto webinar. I want to thank you for joining Bret and I on this webinar, which is leveraging Revizto during project coordination. There's a couple things we want to go over today that I think is really going to be beneficial to anyone who's doing project coordination right now. We're going to look at how Revizto is going to streamline and organize your project issues. We are going to look at how Revizto can quickly mark up those issues from a communication standpoint, how we can automate reports for you, and then also we're going to look at our stamps tool and how we can utilize that during this crucial part of your project as well, from just a verification standpoint, and any of those issues that Navisworks doesn't pick up as you're going through and doing your coordination efforts. So just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Shaun Hester. I'm the VDC manager with a focus on construction here at Revizto. Now this topic that we're discussing today is one that's important to me. Before coming to Revizto, in my previous life, I had worked for a large commercial general contractor, worked there for over 11 years, and coordination it's what I lived and breathed on a daily basis. So, you know, Navisworks, Revit, I mean, that was pretty much what opened every morning daily on my computer. So the topics that we're hitting today are very important to me. And really, I think you guys are going to see some value in this as well, just to make you more efficient on the day-to-day basis in this crucial phase of your construction project. And really, that's going to help you to gain a little bit more time to focus on some of those other items, those fire drills that I know come up on a daily basis for you guys. So also joining us today is Bret Stiles, who's our Global Director of Customer Success. Bret's here, number one, to help me out if I miss anything. I am human, so that can happen from time to time. And then also Bret's going to help facilitate the questions at the end that any of you may have about what we're working on today in our webinar. So let's go ahead and let's jump right into Revizto. So for anyone who has not seen Revizto before, this is our 2D interface right now. And the 2D interface, it brings in any construction documents, any RFI documents. We can bring these sheet files in natively. These come in native from Revit for this particular project. We can also bring in those other formats as well, PDF being one of those. So, you know, you can have RFIs located in here if you want to. But this 2D space, we're going to focus on coordination today. Now, we have plenty of customers that are utilizing Revizto during the whole life cycle of their project. And what I mean by that is it's not just focused on coordination efforts during construction, okay? They're using it in the design phase, and they're, you know, as far as the design phase goes, they're using it from a design review standpoint. They're doing plan flips. They're marking up, you know, items that they need more information on, constructability reviews, missing dimensions, you know, stuff like that they want to track, that they know when the drawings get pushed out for issued for construction set, that all the information has been incorporated into those sheet files. But again, we're focused on coordination today. So from a coordination standpoint, I'm going to bring in only the two schools of thoughts. One is you can have as many documents in here as you want, right? But we also have customers that just bring in relevant documentation that they want to see that's going to help them during that the coordination phase of their project. So what you can see here is we have some issues already on this project. Now, the 2D space from a coordination standpoint really helps with a couple of things. Number one, it helps with communication. So if I want to communicate where certain issues are within a floor plan and I need to print that information off, I can do that. If I want to look at, you know, maybe there's a certain area where we're having more issues than others, I can communicate that as well. You can think of it as like a real simple heat map. You know, the more issues at a location, let's put some more focus on those problems. Now, we can also look at it from a communication standpoint. I'm using this really handy tool that we have here. It's our overlay tool. And we can put the 2D plan information over the top of our 3D model. Now, this can help us out with a couple of different things, okay? Communication. Let's look at, you know, where the system routing is happening over the top of our floor plan. Or, you know what, let's take a look at where the system routing is coming through our floor penetration. Is it actually going into the shaft walls that it's supposed to sit inside of? Is the storm drain actually hitting the floor penetration that's already been cast into that concrete floor? Those are some real simple uses with this overlay tool. Now, the other aspect of the 2D interface that really helps is we want to get this information, this 3D information, this issue information out to as many hands in or on that job site as possible, right? You guys don't want to be the funnel for getting all information out to the team. So we want these projects to be in as many hands as possible. And sometimes that means them being in the hands of some folks who aren't necessarily as 3D model navigation savvy as the BDC managers are. We can utilize these 2D plans also from a navigation standpoint. So everyone's comfortable looking at floor plans. You know, if you're in construction design and engineering, chances are you've seen quite a bit of 2D documents in your day, right? But maybe you're not as comfortable applying the model. So what I can do here is I can actually double click within this 2D plan, and now I've actually been teleported to that room location. So for someone who's not as savvy to jump through the model, this becomes a pretty easy tool for them to do that, right? And we still actually have that 2D plan over the top here. All right, so I did want to touch on 2D just briefly, right? Because the focus of what we want to talk about today is really on the issue side of things, the clashes, the issues, you know, things that you're going to be looking at while you're running coordination. So let's shoot over to Navisworks real quickly here. Now, there's a couple of different ways that from a workflow standpoint of getting issues out and communicating issues. One is clash detective, and this is probably what we see the most, right? And going back to my days doing coordination, I mean, this is what I lived and breathed on the site as far as coordination goes, is looking at all these clashes. Now, what we like to see from an organizational standpoint is getting down to grouping within the specific clash batches, just from an organizational standpoint. You know, you want to get down to that lowest common denominator of, you know, what is the actual issue, right? So we have these light fixtures hitting a rectangular concrete beam. You know, I don't want an issue for each one of these. I want an issue for what's actually hitting that beam itself, and let's drop those down so it's out of the beam, right? So this is one way of doing it. We can sync all clashes over to Revizto very, very quickly and efficiently, all right? But we also see that some of our customers, they don't like to touch clash detection until a certain part of the project or a certain part of where coordination is on a particular floor. Say they're, you know, 70 to 80% complete on coordination. You know, we've all hit run clashes in Navisworks and seen thousands and thousands of clashes start to accumulate. It can be a very daunting task going through and navigating through all those, right? So we see some of our customers going through, and actually their workflow is creating viewpoints on the side here. And what I'm going to show you is how to get those issues into Revizto. And this is, again, just two different ways of bringing issues into Revizto. And one thing I want to stress is, if you're creating viewpoints over here as a way of navigating issues on a project in that early on stage of coordination, let's just talk through that workflow. Okay, you save a viewpoint out here. That's great. Now, what do you do with that? You have to export it out. You have to mark it up. You have to communicate exactly why you took a snapshot of that. Then you're probably emailing it out to the person that needs to go fix it. And how are you tracking after that if it's getting completed? A couple different ways I've seen. One, it's going into a spreadsheet and you're either saying, yes, it's fixed, no, it's not. And you keep going back to that spreadsheet week in, week out to understand, you know, what's still there. Or I've also seen where you just delete the issue right here if it's fixed. And then from week to week, you're going through those viewpoints. Now, what I want to show you is how we want to see this work in Revizto. And I think you're going to see the benefit of doing it this way, okay? So we can, instead of creating a viewpoint right here, let's just create an issue right here. So what just happened is we took a snapshot of what was shown on our Navisworks screen. And from here, I can type, right, this is an issue. I'm going to give it a number. I'm going to say mechanical versus mechanical. And we also have versus structure in there, right? Because we have duct hitting duct, and then we also have the duct, both of those ducts actually going through our concrete beams. I can mark this up. I can say, you know what, this is the problem area right here. Great. I can click on done. And now this is pushing me into our issue tracker. And this is the hub of where coordination is really going to take place in Revizto and on your project. This is where that collaborative communicational hub within Revizto is really going to help you out. All right. And again, I really want to be clear here that what I just showed you is for a very specific type of workflow where we see customers who create those viewpoints very early on. Most often, we're going to see customers exporting out their clashes directly into Revizto. And what I want to show you now here is how to organize some of that information. But you know what, let me back up here real quickly. So this particular issue, that workflow that I was talking about before, you're in Navisworks, you create the viewpoint, well, now what? Well, what happens in Revizto after the now what is I have my issue. You know what? This is an issue that Bret Stiles needs to take care of. We're going to give it a priority of critical. He needs to take care of it, you know, ASAP. We're going to give him a deadline of by the end of this week. Okay? So Bret's the assignee. You'll see every time I change this information in here, it's actually going through and it's time stamping who changed it. Now Bret's changed that status from open to in progress. You can see how quickly this is happening as we're live within the software. So we know Bret's changed the status. He's changed it at 12:12 today, and he's looking into the issue now. Okay. We can also add additional watchers, and watchers are what we like to communicate are, maybe these aren't the folks who are actually taking care of the issue. They're not fixing the issue in the 3D model, but they need to be aware of what's happening. So from this standpoint, we can add as many watchers as we want, and maybe this is project managers, this is superintendents, maybe it's a MEP engineer on the project that, you know, he needs to keep track of what's happening and are these things being closed out on their project. All right. Now we can also add tags, and tags is what we want to communicate from a standpoint of these are all the ways that you can organize your issues and your project that aren't necessarily from the out of the box filters. So in other words, you know, maybe we've broken up our project into different areas, all right? Different zones. You know, some of the larger projects that are broken up into quadrants, whatever that may be. So you can go through and we can start adding detail to this issue that's gonna help us organize that issue. All right? And as you can see here, Bret's already gone through, he's changed the markup. Now he's working on that issue right now to get it resolved as quickly as possible, which is great. Thank you very much, Bret. Now, there's other ways to navigate this information and organize this information within Revizto. All right, there we go. Bret's actually went through and he's added some more information. He's moved this up 6 inches, and he's going to move this closer past that column. All right, and we can say, you know, great, sounds good. And, you know, we're keeping all this information within here. It's not an email that's going out to the team. We're not, you know, adding a bunch of communication in your inbox. It's all taking place right here. Greg's actually in there as well. So you can see it's not just me and Bret, it's anyone who's part of this project. And going back to our watchers, Greg was one of the watchers. So this is important for him to understand how this issue is moving. And now we have it solved. Perfect. Way to go, Bret. So let's take a look at you know, different ways to organize your issues within the project. All right. So we have what's called our custom filter. All right. And we have, you'll see here, these are all the clash tests that were over in Navisworks. So this is a pretty easy way to go through and start to, you know, from a trade partner standpoint, you know, maybe the mechanical contractor, let's go ahead and let's look at every single time that mechanical is listed in here. We can save this preset as mechanical open clash issues. We can hit create. All right. And you'll see here, so those issues are 111. And actually, I'm gonna go one step further. Let's go back to our custom filter here. From a status standpoint, I only want those open and say in progress. I only want to see the issues that are actually a problem. I don't want to see the issues that are solved or closed. I don't want to, you know, bog down my issue tracker with any of that information. All right, so let's go ahead and save as preset. Let's update that information. Our mechanical open clashes update. So here you'll see now we're down to 61 of those. So you see those very easy to do. We can start to navigate. Okay, let's go through and look at some of these here. You know, this one's being worked on. You know what? This one is actually not something that I would probably want the mechanical contractor to take a look at. This is a pipe that's running through a duct. So I'm going to go, and Bret is actually our plumbing contractor. So I'm going to make Bret the assignee for that one. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at this one, right? Let's shoot this over to the side. Let's start to look at, all right, so what's going on here? You know what, same thing. I would rather have Bret take care of this. It's gonna be much harder for that duct to move. Bret, we're really picking on you today, I'm sorry. But you can see here as we start to go through these, and that one's already changed already, we can start to decipher, you know, who needs to take care of what. And same thing. This is a Bret issue. Can you please take care of this? So as a mechanical contractor, if I have my mechanical contractor hat on, I can go through and start to take a look at these and be like, you know what, I can't move. Can you please help me out, Bret? I'm going to make you the assignee. I'm going to put a comment in here saying, you know, Bret, I can't type today. I can't move this duct. Can you assist? All right, it's all being timestamped. You know, we're keeping that record of what's happening. And why that's important is from a liability standpoint. You know, we've all had installation start. Systems are going into a building, and we run into an issue out in the field where something still isn't fitting. It's construction. Things, unfortunately, just sort of happen sometimes. But, well, what do we do? Okay, well, let's go back to our issue tracker and let's see what we decided from 2 months ago. I remember that issue. Let's go look through here. Well, you know what? Bret said he was going to go take care of this, and it didn't happen. So now we're running these systems on site, and now we need to come up with a fix. But you know what, Bret? Let's have you go in there and take a look, and can you please come up with a fix so that we can keep moving with install? All right. Now, the other way I want to show you guys how to organize your information is specific to those coordination meetings. If you remember from the beginning, one of the things I really wanted to hit on was from a coordination meeting standpoint, how can you organize your information? Now, everything we've shown so far, it helps, and it'll help you organize your info. But you know what? What if we want to show things that we want to take care of during a certain meeting? All right. So hypothetically speaking, I went through and I've determined that, you know, some of these top issues that we have in this particular filter, we really need to look at one of our upcoming meetings. All right. So I'm going to do a batch edit here, and I'm going to add a tag for my coordination meeting that's coming up November 21st. I'm going to click done, and I'm going to click apply. Now, Revisto's went through and it's applied that particular tag to all of those 9 issues, right? And it doesn't have to be specific to the mechanical, right? I'm not just trying to pick on mechanical and pick on Bret here. So you can go through and, you know, you're looking through your clashes and you're determining that, you know, whatever ones are going to be important to you for that particular meeting you want to talk about. All right. And now what I can do is I can create a custom filter. I'm going to go by status, and I'm going to say by open and in progress. And I'm going to go by a tag of the meeting that we were just talking about. All right. And I'm going to save this preset for my coordination meeting for 11/21. Hit create. I'm going to move this all the way up to the top of Revista, all the way up to the top of my issue tracker. And I'm going to make this available for everyone on the project. This is how we share these filters. I'm going to hit apply. All right. So now the entire team can come in here and they can look and see that, all right, these are some important show-stopping issues that we need to take a look at during our meeting. But more importantly, these are the items that we want to focus on between now and our meeting, right? These are the things that we really want to see cleaned up before the meeting. And then during the meeting, all the ones that we haven't been able to fix, and you remember, I specifically created this filter with the status of open and in progress. Well, now we're just going to focus on the items that we weren't able to fix. Maybe we have the engineer and the architect sitting in that meeting, and it's important that we have their input there because we just haven't been able to figure out how to move some of this stuff, and we need their help from a design intent standpoint, and then maybe from a system engineering standpoint, of them overseeing it, saying, you know what, this is what we have to do because of, you know, X, Y, Z. But these are the ones that we're going to focus on in that meeting that we haven't been able to fix. All right. So that is how the custom filtering works in Revizto. And really, there's so many options on how you can organize your data and how you can organize your issues within here, you know, specific to you, you know, watched by me, reported by me, any of my open issues, you know, just going back to the workflow of you know, someone who has to fix these issues, you can come in here and anything that, you know, you're part of, any issue that you're a part of, it's going to be under here as my open issues. All right. Now, we've hit on that organizational standpoint of the issues. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the reporting aspect, because this is also important. All right. So we're going to come open to here, and automatically it's going to default me to my reports. But I want to jump over to my dashboard here. And these dashboards are live. It's generating live data information happening on the project right now. So in terms of clash issues, this is what we have going on right now from clash issues of what's open, in progress, solved, and closed, right? So if I want to see how things are moving throughout the project, I can come in here and really get a good idea. And there's many different options on creating these charts as well, right? And that's really the live data part of the reports. But we can also generate these reports from a delivery standpoint to send out to team members and notify them and give them a snapshot of what's happening, right? And we can send these out daily. They can be sent out every 2 weeks, every month. You know, there's a bunch of different ways that we can do that. This report's going on every Monday at 7 a.m. Right now, it only has me on here, but you can add anyone that you want inside or outside of the Revizto project to these reports. All right. And then what happens when that report is generated? Let's take a look at one here. So this is those open clash issues, right? We have the actual dashboard view of the chart itself right here, all right? And then it's listing all of the issues within Revizto per the parameters that we've set up for that particular chart. What's great about this is I can actually come in here, I can click on Open in Revizto while I'm in this report, and automatically shoots me right to that issue if I want to go ahead and take a look at that. So again, these reports can be generated for anyone inside and outside of the project if they need to see, number one, that snapshot of what's happening, and maybe you just need to keep a report as a snapshot of what's happening on the project, all right? Now, so that's the dashboard side of things. We also have just the standard reports as well. And, you know, one that I like to talk about is, you know, our stamps were created from a punch listing side of things. So we can generate reports in here, you know, from those issues that need to be fixed on a daily basis. And we can have those sent out to the individuals that need to take care of those issues on that daily basis. So you can think of a drywall framing contractor coming to the job site, 6 a.m. He gets a report in his email inbox every single morning that says, these are the issues that have been sent to you from the previous day. You know, these are the ones that are outstanding still. Please take care of those. All right. So speaking of our stamp tool, I did want to talk about that as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot over to 3D. Now, our stamp tool originally was created from a punch listing standpoint. And it was created as a 2D interface as well, so only able to use in our 2D sheets. And we had such an enormous we had so many customers reach out to us and say, you know what, I need to be able to utilize this in 3D. I see the benefits. I can use it beyond punch listing. This is really going to be beneficial to my company and my workflows. Let's get this thing in 3D. So we heard it loud and clear, and here we are in 3D utilizing the stamping tool. And one workflow that I love to talk about is access. So you're turning over this building to a customer. They have to be able to maintain that building. They have to be able to get to control boxes. They have to be able to get to filters, valves, you know, all those things that are really important for them to maintain that building. They have to be able to get to those. And this is one of those things that Navisworks doesn't necessarily do a good job of calling out for you. Now, we've all set up geometry to clash against from an access standpoint. But, you know, sometimes you really just have to get in there and fly the model to understand what that means. And a lot of times I would actually fly the model with the facilities management folks and walk through each and every one of those valves, every one of those filter locations, and say, is this accessible to you or not? And let's work to get this done during this, you know, digital phase of coordination, and not when it's installed in the field and we have to rip it out. So what we can do is we can use our stamping tool. And what's really important to understand about the stamping tool is we have the ability to template who this information is going to. All right. So in other words, let's click on our electrical access, and I've just generated a category here for facilities management. All right. In the electrical access within the facilities management category, anytime I drop this stamp, it's a critical priority. It's always going to Greg Keller. We have these watchers set up that need to be notified. This stamp is public. You can add as many tags in here as you want to. However you want to organize that information later on down the line, you're going to utilize the tags for. And we can obviously help you set those up during the standardization part of the implementation that we do at Revizto. All right, but let's back up here. Let's go back to the model. So I'm flying around, and I'm checking out my overhead systems here in this building. And you know what? I mean, I see this cable tray here, but on each side of the cable tray, there's a duct. So how are we going to get the cables? How are we going to get the wiring into this cable tray? You know what? This is probably a situation where it's not accessible, right? So I can come in here and I can drop this stamp. And if you remember from that previous screen, these are all the things that I already set up early on that now I don't have to go in and create those one by one every time I'm creating these issues. So I can keep going. I'm flying along here. You know what? Another electrical access issue. All right. You know what? There's a control box in here that we just cannot get to. Mechanical access issue. All right. And we have our assignees set up. We have our watchers set up. And it makes it really easy to do what we call our one-click issue management part of that coordination on the project. Things that Navisworks doesn't necessarily pick up when you're going through and doing that clash detection. All right. And then every time we drop one of these in here, it's actually generating let me reset my filters here. It's generating an issue within our issue tracker, okay? And you can see it has the same stamp right there, has the same issue that we have right here. One of the great things is we can filter this information out by stamp abbreviation. So I can create a custom filter. I'm going to say by status of that open and in progress, and my stamp abbreviation of MAC, which is my mechanical access. And now we have those 9 issues. Some of them we just populated, but some of them have already been populated on the project that we can now look at. And I can save this as my mechanical access issues and hit create. And again, we want to share this with the entire team. We can do so, and you can push and pull this wherever you want it to go on your list from that organizational standpoint. Now, say we're out in the field and this is no longer an issue. We're walking with the facilities management folks and they're saying, you know what, this didn't look right in the model, but we took a chance and said, you know what, I think it'll be okay. Let's wait and see what happens. All right. Well, now we're walking out in the field. We can actually take a picture with our iPad to verify that indeed, and we can say, you know, per so-and-so on the facilities management team, we're okay here. Now, obviously, if they're invited to the project, we'll have their name associated with the project. But if they're not, now we can take a photo and say, per facilities management manager, this is a non-issue. We're okay. We've changed the status to solved or closed. All right. So pretty powerful stuff here. Now, we've walked through a lot of different information. We've walked through 2D, we've looked at 3D, and really we've talked through issue tracker and how it can help you manage your information and help you be more efficient during coordination. I mean, it's really important from a coordination standpoint that you kind of get out of the weeds of managing all these issues one by one by one. We want the people who have to take care of the issues to do just that. We don't want you to have to babysit and constantly update the information of what's closed, what's not. So Revizto allows you to push the accountability of where it needs to be and who needs to take care of that information and make them accountable to get that done and go through and do their job and be able to efficiently do their job. And again, like I said early on, it's all about trying to make you more efficient so you can focus on, some of those other important fire drills that are coming up. And we have customers that, they're meeting on an as-needed basis from a coordinational meeting standpoint, because coordination is basically taking place within Revizto here. Communication's happening here, the accountability is happening here, and the floors are being signed off by using this tool on that very critical part of your project. So I do want to thank you for spending this time with us. We do have, I'm assuming we have some questions which we can take. If anyone has a question after our day today, please do not hesitate to reach out to any of the Revizto folks that have invited you, or you can reach out to Bret or myself. We'd be happy to sit down with you and show you this functionality and just make you guys more efficient using this wonderful tool. So thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Bret here. Thanks a bunch for attending, and thanks for the absolutely amazing presentation, Shaun. I really Really appreciate both you and the customers in this situation. We did have a few questions going on in the chat, and I would like to touch on those really quick. So a few of them have already been answered, but let's see here. When we go through here, some of the questions, and I'll talk about them out loud here. So one of the questions from Adrienne was, is there a way to send out a heat map with the dashboard? So this is one of the things that we've been talking about internally as far as adding that as a feature. However, right now we do give you the ability to export your issues to PDF, and that can be attached to the report. So can you create that report right now? Absolutely. Does it require getting information from 2 different sources at the moment? It does. So kind of answer that question real quick. Greg Roberts asks, what about a secret/classified job that has security concerns? So in that situation, we offer a shared location option with our software, which completely stores your models on any server or any local network of your choosing. So one of the things that we see is Revista is being utilized on some pretty high security jobs. And usually that takes a meeting with the IT department to vet out the security concerns. But usually we get through those security concerns pretty easily. And most of the time that involves using our shared location option. So one of the other questions that we had was, when you're working on a batch of issues, what's the best practice on status updates and uploads and syncs? Do you mark the issue as solved as you're going? Because it may take several hours to do if you wait until the end. The thing is that all of our communication and status changes and everything that Shaun showed today happen in real time. So what that means is that as soon as you click the button on editing an issue, that information is interjected into the project. My thought on this is that issues should really be assigned as they go, unless there is a bunch of information that comes in a batch. So for example, maybe you send out a bunch of door repair stamps in the CA process or something like that. And the architect may, or whoever's walking the site, may not be in the Revizto project. And he comes back and hands you a sheet of 25 issues that he found in the field. That would be a good example of where the batch editing would come into play. So Jason, hopefully I answered your question, but as Shaun said, if I didn't answer your question clearly, you can always reach out to us and we can have a detailed conversation about that workflow. Nathan Peterson asks, is there a way to assign a class stamp to a person when exporting to Revizto? Absolutely. Inside of our Navisworks export dialog, there is an assignee attachment to each individual class or class group that's getting exported. So you can assign classes out upon export. Kevin asks, do we have a date for the December update? So right now we are targeting early December, hopefully December 10th. Once again, due to testing and other things like that, it could be a little bit before, it could be a little bit after, but December 10th is the date that we're targeting for that update. Christopher asked, with a selected object through the objects icon, is there a way to zoom to extents? So, Shaun, if you don't mind, go into your 3D real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, the actual 3D environment up top. There we go. Well, it could have worked there, so I apologize. You're in the right spot. So if you click on an object, there's a couple different things you can do with it. You can create that section, or you can teleport right to the middle of an object. So down at the bottom, Shaun, see those two buttons right there? Those are your zoom to and zoom away from type buttons upon object selection. So let's see here real quick. Exporting from Navisworks. Is there a way to push issues back to Viewpoints in Navisworks? So we cannot push issues back to Navisworks. In most of our successful workflows, what we see is that Navisworks actually takes a heavily reduced role. meaning that Navisworks is mainly used to federate models and to publish class results, and Revizto is your main hub for those viewpoints that are created. We do have a two-way synchronization with Navisworks that allows those statuses to travel back and forth. So the VDC team creating the information is in tune with the statuses out in the field, but there is no way to push that all of that issue information back into Navis. So Patrick asks, what is the difference between an issue and a stamp? The main thing is that both are considered issues after creation. Stamps are used for repetitive issues that do not need detailed markups and always have a similar assignee. So as Shaun showed in his presentation, that's where with something like mechanical access, that's not something that needs a very detailed markup. It's something that's repetitive, can be handled through the walkthroughs. If we're doing something very specific in an issue, it may be best to go with the traditional issue. Although I will say that the markup features are available with our stamp issues as well. So we see a lot of different use cases with the stamps. And as Shaun pointed out, the original use case was for that punch listing tool, but due to the automation of issue creation, reporting, and filtering, many of our design, subcontractor, and even general contractors are using this not only for punch listing, but for things like BIM data issues early in conceptual design, or repetitive issues during the design phase, such as removing a light switch or placing a light or something like that. Christopher asks, since Revizto has version controls, is there a way to compare and contrast a sheet to another version of the same sheet? This is something that's in our development path, but is not currently in the software. I do not have an exact date on when we'll actually have that in there, but it is pretty high up on our priority list. And so you should be seeing that here in the near future. And then finally, we have Brian Smith, and his question is, what is the best way to go from Revizto to Revit for finding an element in a class or an issue? So, Shaun, I hate to put you on the spot here, but do you have the Revit model open?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So let's do this. Let's kind of show this to them real quick, and then if there's some more questions, we'll go ahead and end the webinar after that. Now let's go into an issue inside the inside of Revizto, and let's double click that issue and see it show up in Revit here. So what happens is when you have Revit open and you have the switchback capability. No, Shaun,
you know what?
Yeah.
Well, but I have to back up. So the one thing you always have to do, which I just did not do, is you got to make sure you're telling Revit that you want to communicate with Revizto. So in other words, I want to turn on issue tracker within Revit. So now when I double click on here, it's gonna change my view. And now we have a sectioned off view of the project. Now this particular Revit file that I have open right here has multiple files linked in here. It's going to highlight in red where the issue is, but chances are you're going to see a very specific use case. If it's a mechanical issue like I clicked on, the engineer is only going to have that mechanical file open. They might be referencing some of that linked data, but you can turn that on and off to kind of help you within this particular view. Again, I had everything turned on, which is why you see all the models located here.
Absolutely. Yep, and this is a.
Go ahead, Bret.
Oh, sorry, Shaun. This is a really, really strong point with our designers, architects, and even construction companies that are operating in the early phases of design. Being able to quickly take those designers back to the position where the problem is based on the data in the project itself. So we do have a switchback feature to Revit. We have a switchback feature to a lot of those design applications. And it's one of those things that just adds to the ease of use of the software and being able to track these issues down in the place where they have to be fixed. So let's see here, one more question here. And the last question is from David Jocelyn, and he asked, do we have a development roadmap and is it shared publicly? So that is a yes followed by a no. One of the things that we do is we do discuss our development roadmap with customers. Usually it takes a little bit of a level of engagement for us to kind of start to reveal those things. To be honest, as far as displaying the development roadmap publicly, that is something that I would probably have to talk to even my manager about. So the answer is that, do people know about our development roadmap? Absolutely. Is it something that we share openly to the public? It is not. All right. And then it looks, we have one more question from Steve Newkirk. And then his question is, can items quick properties be auto-revealed on hover instead of clicking on an object like Navisworks? So right now we do not have that functionality. This is another feature that has been talked about internally as part of a quality of life upgrade. We could see it in the software here in the future. We do not have a timeline on it, but this is something that we have received input from multiple clients on. And whenever we receive that input from multiple sources, that raises everything up in the development list as far as those quality of life upgrades go. And so this is something that you could see in the near future, Steve. We just, once again, we don't have a timeline to it at this point. So it looks like all the questions are handled. Shaun, is there anything else that you want to add before we go ahead and end?
No, I don't think so. Again, I just want to thank everyone who joined us today. And as I said earlier, please reach out if you think of another question afterwards, and I'd be happy to walk you through any of the functionality that you saw today.
Awesome. Let's see here. One last question before we go. It's from Don McGill, and he asks, is there a way to show a single issue applying to several different locations? For instance, if there's an RFI out for a certain specification of a VAV that is in 18 different places in the building, that RFI is really only one issue but affects 18 different locations. This is a great question, and a question that I love and really highlights where we're trying to take our product. So can we do this right now? No, we can't. Is BIM data-driven issue creation on our development roadmap? Absolutely it is. One of the things that we're trying to do is nail down the model viewing 2D coordination process first for our clients. And then what we want to do is we want to expand on this BIM-driven issue creation to do exactly what you're asking, Don. So one of the things is once again, can we do this? We cannot right now. However, this is something that is very, very high up on our development targets. It's not one of our top targets right now, but this is something that's been discussed quite a bit internally. So you can definitely look forward to that over the coming months. So yeah, everybody, just as Shaun said, I really want to thank everyone for joining. And once again, I want to thank you, Shaun, for putting on a great presentation for us. And please contact us if you have any questions.